Now imagine having a lot of firsts as a person and being able to propel decision making in the community you find yourself in. That's the story of a young man from Academic City University, and this is the Stories Media podcast. We'll be delving into the lives and the lessons of Academic City alumni. Today we have with us a very young man, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Like we do every time on the show, we allow you to mention your name and something interesting about yourself. Hello, sir.
Hi, my name is Nathaniel. I'm an engineer at Jetstream Technologies. And one thing interesting about me, I like to talk to people about very uninteresting things.
Now, Nathaniel, I was reading your bio earlier and I was quite intrigued with a lot of the things you've accomplished for yourself. Before we get into that, I want to expand on something. How was curiosity for you as a child or a youth?
I think growing up, I would give a lot of gratitude to my parents. They really allowed me to explore and do so many things. For example, I played like a lot of soccer, you know, even though I was supposed to be a very good student or a model student, but they allowed me to join a soccer team.
Okay.
They allowed me to, take part in science fair programs, just go out there and try mixing stuff. So they sort of, gave me the latitude to try out so many things. Like they allowed me to take decisions early on. One of the things that I remember, and I always think about is that we never had a conversation of, oh, you should learn because your grades are slipping. And so they allowed me to really, learn. And, my father had all these books from, his past, geography, of all different African countries, like from the past, and they were all available for me. And so it was like a free reign for me to like really just try out new stuff, read new stuff, and ask questions which were answered from.
I like the fact that you're able to read more. And I mean, when you were in Academic City, from what I read, you were very adamant in the drama club.
Yeah.
And I want to ask this question, maybe before we move into what you did here. Do you think storytelling, you've read a lot of books, do you think storytelling crafts the kind of human being crafted the kind of human being you are today?
Yeah. I think that everybody has a very unique story to tell. For example, I'm from the northern part of the country, the Upper East region. And so people from that part of the country have a unique story to tell. You cannot just lump it together. Same way you go into different African countries, even though we share the same complexion and the same sort of tone or various types of things, maybe economic conditions, everybody still has a unique story to tell. And when I look at my life, and all the things that have made me get to this stage, like it's a very unique story. And let's see, your life would also tell a very unique story.
Right.
And so as you reflect on those things, you realize that everybody's life is really a story that has to be told. And so drama and all of that is just a way of telling those stories in a very compressed time. You talk about the drama club, the stories that we did were satires about African conditions. We spoke about forced marriages. We spoke about, superstitious beliefs. We spoke about, prevailing economic conditions set out in Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ghana, right? And so we sort of tried to figure out what exactly are the stories that we can draw and learn lessons from each unique country. And that's what we did.
No, that's quite interesting. I like that you were very diversity inclusive in your time in Academic City. Now let's move back home a little. You mentioned you were from the north. How long were you there?
I was there for 18 years of my life.
So was that post scholarship to Academic City?
Yeah, that was because
pre,
right?
Yes.
So I grew up there. I went to school there, high school there, and then I moved to Academic City, really full time. But I've been in and out of Accra from like 2015, so that probably say 15 years before,
Now let's do a flashback. How was young Nathaniel before Academic City, maybe what you were doing in the north? Then let's look at young Nathaniel in Academic City because of the opportunity of the scholarship.
Yeah, I would say, looking back, it's been a very consistent team with regards to the types of things I've done, right? When I look at my high school experience, for example, I was leading the news agency, right, which we call like Pen News or Pen News Club. That was very unlikely for like a science student at the time. Like it was more like an art thing. but I decided to do it. I was doing science club, I was playing volleyball, I was doing so many things then because I just liked to do it. So it's more like whatever I liked, I went to do it. And so now translate that into academic city. When I came in like as an engineering student, I started doing all of these other things like drama, like writing, like robotics, like all of the things. As far as I liked it, I did it. So that's been a consistent theme before and even here at academic city.
But that's very profound. So you moved a lot with your interest, a lot of things that you liked. That was before you and during your time in academic city, and maybe now even as you've gotten out of academic city. Now I want to pick on your creativity a little. Now, if you're able to reimagine maybe an engineering space or something you're able to build, because I know you're a very handsy person, what would that be? What would you want to reimagine? Maybe from in the north, in Accra, even in academic city.
So we are talking about rebuilding something from an engineering perspective. Is that the case?
Yes.
What would I want to rebuild? You know, I think that I would focus on, well, let's start with what I'm interested in, right? I'm generally interested in healthcare, I'm interested in agriculture, right? Those two synergies would create a very healthy community. So if I had to build something, it would be in those two verticals. Maybe healthcare, because it's very close to me. Like I would say devices that, you know, can work reliably in communities that most definitely would make them not to run reliably, right? And so you have, let's say you have a CPAP machine, right? A CPAP machine would definitely break down maybe 2 years or 1 year in a hospital in the northern part of the country, not even just Ghana generally, right? And so you want to be able to build something that's very robust, something that, you know, can withstand the times. And I think that with AI, you really want to imagine how some of these devices are being used, right? Because then you say, oh, well, we have AI, you know, and it's open AI and all of the fancy, cool stuff being built in San Francisco. But then there's some kid in the Ashanti region, right? And the divide is really going to go higher and higher. How do you, you know, translate all of that into healthcare, into agriculture for those types of people? So engineering-wise, I would imagine devices that can allow the people in locations that technology would go wrong to be able to access that technology.
Okay. Now, I was going to bring it a little to home, but I want to touch on that a little. Providing for those who might not have access to it or where technology might go wrong. Now, what was any project that you started that didn't go as planned, but you were able to rise above the occasion?
There have been a couple. There have been a couple of projects, you know. I mean, as far as you are trying something, there's always going to be failure, right? And in academic city, there's always the tendency for you to try stuff. Unless you are very uninterested, like you will get to try stuff, right? So you should come to academic city.
So that's beautiful because, like you said, there's a tendency to try stuff. Now let's bring it to your leadership prowess in academic city. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nathaniel was the first judicial council head or chief Judicial Council in academic city. And so a lot of the governance around student leadership is because of his intake or his input. Now, how was that like? A young boy from the north coming and having such ability to influence student decision on the academic city campus. How was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, just to answer your questions in two phases, like I never really thought about myself as a boy from the northern part. Like I never really think about myself that way. Like it's a space where you are just another person who wants to do something for your community, right? I believe in the ability to build communities that last, right? Once you are tightly hip to something, it's in your best interest to make sure that it's productive or it gets to grow. And so when I came to ACT, that was my mindset to what is the best way I'm going to be able to, you know, give back to the community that is going to give me so much, right? And, you know, even before the Judicial Council head thing, you know, I ran the first elections on campus. So the first set of SRC members that were elected legitimately was what I did. After that entire process, I was burnt out because like it was a very stressful period of running elections, doing engineering. I think for that semester, my grades took a hit. You look at my transcript, like that semester, you see that there was something really wrong at that particular part. So after the elections, I went and told my friends, because really all of these people, my friends, and said, "Oh guys, like Charlie, after these elections, I'm out." But then Isaac and Oreku, because they were the president and vice president, came to tell me, like, we need you to be able to take up this role, because we need to draft all of these things, the constitution, because the school needs it for all of these other processes, for chartering and all of that. And so, well, sure, I decided to help because they were my friends. And that's how we started the entire process of the judicial council, defining how, student governorship would be, how the structures are, forming the General Assembly and conducting elections to set up that body as well. And then you have a fully fledged SRC council that works. Plus, you have good representation. Now, the school understands that this is the representation, this is the document that guides the students, this is how we want to behave moving forward for several other things. And I think that because we had that framework and structure in place, subsequently, when conflicts arose between us and the school, there was a guiding block. Like, we knew what we were about to do, we knew where we were going. It was not like some group of students who were randomly deciding or doing stuff. Because there was that rapport, we knew what we could push back on. Even when there was conflict, there was a resolution because we had defined that.
Now, for someone like you who has done quite a lot, and like I mentioned, he's done a lot of firsts. First electoral commissioner, first, I don't want to get into it, but first judicial council head. How have you dealt, and I think it's a very important question, how have you dealt with burnout?
Yeah, burnout. I think that, I've come to realize that when I'm interested in something, then that becomes a non-issue. Right?
So when you get tired, you just persevere through it.
You just persevere. Once you are interested in it, right? As far as you start, noticing signs of burnout, there's an underlying theme, which is that one, it's either you've lost interest, or two, you are not putting the right processes to prevent that. Right? So, for example, at work, which is much more relevant now, I like what I'm doing, which means that if I'm spending so much time, like, it doesn't feel like there's any burnout anywhere. But now immediately I begin to think about burnout, means that I'm not enjoying the work. And that happened last year, because there are certain phases in work that you wouldn't enjoy what you are doing. You have to look for an outlet. So that's how I manage it. I try to make sure that generally I'm interested in the stuff that I'm doing. And if I'm not, I put in processes that ensure that I don't do too much of something I'm not interested in.
Such wise nuggets. So be interested. If you're interested in something, you have to like it so much so that you face some of these burnout things that might happen around it. Now, that's very smart. Now, let's kind of conclude. Let's look at what a younger Nathaniel will be proud of you for. Looking back in your life from maybe academic city transitioning, what would a younger Nathaniel be proud of you for?
When I was growing up, I had an idea or a mind to achieve certain things, right? And as I'm growing now, and based on where I am, like, it's not far off, just that perspective would shift, and like, you can only connect the dots when you look at it from the back. Like, as life comes, it almost feels disjointed, but now when you look at it behind, it makes, like, the connection actually makes sense. So I would say that, a younger Nathaniel would see that, the journey or the end goal has not shifted much. The goal or what to achieve has not shifted much, even though the path to it has been winding, has gone through different things and tips. We are still on track.
Okay. Now, I want you to look into the camera and tell anybody listening or watching us, what is that one thing what's that one push you're come to give them today? Maybe they are not sure of themselves, they are not feeling like they can do it. What's that one push or word of advice you want to give somebody listening or watching today?
I think that you should just do it. You know, the biggest barrier to actually achieving is being able to do it. You know, that small step you take today, whether it's writing one paragraph, whether it's writing or whether it's reading that one book, or whether it's, you know, just going out and taking that walk, just step out, you know, and it will all work out. Like, it will work out.
So make sure to like what you're doing, because that's the only way to avoid burnout. Those were wise words from Nathaniel Asiak. And it's been an amazing show. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Archibald Nikote Amonkote. I've been your host. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification for the next update on the next show. And we'll catch you on the next one.